everybody. Welcome to another episode of Moving Markets, the Safe Option Strategy podcast. Glad to have you here on a Monday. It is February the 12th. The U.S. stock market has been closed for about 40 minutes at the time I'm recording this. Some good stuff to talk about today, mostly talking about what's coming up this week. We've got a big week of news this week. You've got CPI data out tomorrow morning. You've got PPI data out on Friday morning. And sandwiched in between them on Thursday, you've got the retail sales report. Those are all potentially big market movers because all of those individually and then certainly in conjunction with each other are going to help paint a picture for the Fed and help the Fed figure out when, if at all this year, they're going to cut interest rates. I am starting to find myself more and more in the camp of one interest rate cut this year and maybe no more than that, and I would not be shocked if inflation rears its head up just a little bit more than it's been the last couple of months, and we end up in a situation where the Fed is not going to cut rates this year. That's going to be a shock to the market, but I don't think anyone should be surprised by that. As always, please take a minute to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like on any other platform that you're on. Send us in a comment or a question if you have that, and enjoy today's presentation. All right. Another day of trading. If it's not a record, it's a near record finish on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I'm going to pull the Dow chart up here real quick. And for a while, the S&P was at a new record high, and then it sold off a little bit. And the NASDAQ for a while today was looking like it was going to come close to a new all-time high, or at least match an all-time high. And then about hour and a half, 2 hours before the market closed, the S&P and the NASDAQ just sold off kind of heavily. If you look at this one-day chart on the NASDAQ specifically, all day long it was up, and then I guess this is right about, that would have been about 1:20 Eastern time, so maybe with a few hours left to trade, 2.5 hours, right around 1:30 Eastern time, 1:20 Eastern time, it just started to fall, and it bounced a little bit right there, and then it just never came back up and actually finished in negative territory on the day. So, and there was a news story that broke sometime around that time that Maria Bartiromo, or not Maria Bartiromo, I'm sorry, Liz Clayman. I was watching her program right at the beginning of it for about 5 minutes, and she said there was some news story that broke about that time that she thinks kind of turned everything and started moving it to the downside. Regardless, the NASDAQ down 48 points. That's not a massive, major drop to get all hysterical about. S&P down 4.77 points. Almost 0.1%. But the Dow had a good day and another record close for the Dow. So this market, maybe a little bit of a pause in the other indexes, but this market just keeps on pushing forward and keeps on moving on. I don't know that today's move up in the market had any dramatic news behind it, nor did the sell-off partway through the day. I don't know if there was any dramatic news behind that. I think people are positioning and getting ready for the CPI report tomorrow morning. That comes out at 8:30 Eastern time, 6:30 my time. And I'm just going to tell you right now, these numbers better track pretty darn close to where they're at or be better than where they're at. Because with the wet blanket that got thrown over the notion that we were going to get 3 or 4 or 5 or more rate cuts this year, and with the the added news that no rate cut was going to come in March, or at least it's unlikely, and maybe or maybe not a rate cut in May. All this market needs to really get kind of freaked out right now is for this year-over-year number that is projected to be at 3.7. I'm telling you, if it was a miss of only 3.8 instead of 3.7, heaven forbid it's 3.9 again, that's going to spook this market, at least for a short period of time, at least for a day or two of trading. That is majorly going to spook the market. Month over month is expected to be the same, but if that 0.3 became a 0.4 or higher, again, it's going to spook the markets. Even the core, which is expected to have a pretty good drop year over year, down from 3.4 down to 3. I don't know, even like I'm saying, a miss of 0.1% here, a 3.1 or a 3.2 right there. Any of these numbers miss, it's going to be an excuse for more profit taking, more hand wringing, and you're going to see this market sell off in a pretty dramatic way. It's gonna blow things up pretty severely tomorrow. I don't. I've been wrong the last few times. Probably the last 3 times this CPI report has come out. It's come in at a better number than what I expected. So I'm not even making a prediction right now. I don't know if that 3.7 year over year is going to be right on the money. I don't know if it's going to be a little bit low. I don't know if it's going to be a little bit high. I don't even want to wager a guess because I've been dead flat wrong the last several times. I will tell you if it's a miss to the high side, markets are coming down heavy tomorrow. If it's a miss to the low side, it's going to be one more excuse for the FOMO to kick in, and you're going to see the NASDAQ rebound massively. You're going to see the S&P rebound massively from today's little sell-off, and the Dow is just going to continue to push higher. That's just kind of where we're at right now and kind of the way things are. Later in the week, and it's only going to have one day to actually, for us to actually see the effect of it, because then you've got Wednesday and Thursday where there's a fair amount of news, and this retail sales report is going to be big on Thursday, but then you've got the PPI number that comes out on Friday. And if that's telling the same story as CPI, then you'll have either more rally or more sell-off. But in between that, Wednesday is going to be kind of a boring day, quite honestly. But Thursday, that retail sales report that gives us a look at how strong the consumer continues to be, that had a surprisingly high number last month and the month before. If retail sales, and they're expecting a big drop in retail sales, going from 0.6 last month down to negative 0.1 this month, it's a big drop off. Again, I don't even want to wager a guess. I have no idea what it will do. The expectation across the board for or without vehicles and gasoline and regular retail, it's all expected to come down from where it was last month. Now, some of that is holiday seasonally adjusted. Some of that is the fact that people are getting their credit cards maxed out, and it's getting kind of ugly. We're at record-breaking highs on the amount of credit card debt people are carrying right now, and people are still feeling the pinch of inflation. No matter what the current administration is saying about, the economy is so much healthier than what it appears. No, it's not. It's not. And I've said this so many times. The rate of inflation has not been going backwards. It has been slowing down. And a week or two ago, I got on a big rant about inflation and made the analogy, if you were getting farther and farther away from where you wanted to be in a car going 90 miles an hour, you would be glad that the car was only going 30 miles an hour right now. But if it's 30 miles an hour, still in the wrong direction of where you want to be, you're not making progress. You are simply not having prices rise as fast as they were rising previously. Now, I know some of that is offset by higher wages, but I'm skeptical of those wage numbers. I think some information is being fudged there. And I know that makes me sound conspiracy theorist when I say things like that, but I'm telling you right now, numbers coming out of the Department of Labor, I think that department is probably full of some of the most partisan or the most incompetent people walking on U.S. soil right now. It's just staggering how often they have to revise their numbers and make adjustments to the previous numbers. But you've heard me rant about that enough. Tomorrow, big. I'm telling you, this CPI report has been the CPI, PPI, and PCE reports have been the major focus for some time now. You can see right here that the March, the expectation has gone down to only 15% that will get a rate cut. In May, it's still quite a bit higher than that. You've got about 60, right around 60%, maybe a fraction over, or just a fraction under 60% of people that think we will get a rate cut in May. And then an even bigger percentage of people that think we'll have a rate cut no later than June. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get a rate. I'm firmly in the camp of this, 84.5% that think we're not getting a rate cut in March. But I got to tell you, for May, I am firmly in this camp of the 41% that think we're not getting any rate cut in May either. I just think there is a real chance that in these next couple of months, inflation is going to look stickier than it already is. It's either going to rear its head back up a little bit in the way of higher than expected CPI and PPI numbers, even if just by a little bit, And I think you're going to have some more chinks in the armor show with the debt, with Congress's inability to fix anything at the southern border, the aid packages that they want to send to other countries. I think that's going to bog things down a little bit on a broader economic scale, and I think it's going to be tough to see progress being made that would allow the Fed to cut rates. And I've repeated this a couple of times on other programs. I'll repeat it again right here. But um, the problem is the only reason the Fed would have for three or more rate cuts this year is if we are going into a recession and they have to cut rates to try and stave that off or to try and cut down the life expectancy of a recession. And you don't want that to happen. That's not going to be a good thing for workers, for employers, for general consumers throughout the country. It's simply not going to be a good thing. So careful what you wish for, those of you that are wanting rate cuts to come and to have them come quickly. The best reason to do rate cuts would be if the government would stop spending money so out of control. That's both parties. That's not one or the other. If they would stop spending money out of control, and if we could start working on the debt and bringing the debt down. But with the group of politicians we have back there now, Republican, Democrat, Independent, I don't think there's collectively. Let's put it this way: on one hand, I could probably count the number of current politicians in Washington, D.C., who really, truly want to spending and bring the deficit down. And it's more than just lip service when they say that. So it's both political parties. There's just such a lack of will to get a balanced budget and to bring that down. And it's going to bite. It's going to bite this economy in a hard way sooner than later. So I know that's not a real cheery, positive note to end on. But I am going to wrap things up right there for the day. Hope everybody had a great weekend, had a great Monday. There'll be plenty to talk about with the CPI report tomorrow and what it does to the markets when we do this again tomorrow after the market close. Thanks, everyone.